Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, we're going to give you the RT Sports Super Bowl preview. We're also going to talk about the postseason shootout contest we're running here at RealTime Fantasy Sports as well. Go over the leaderboard there, who has a chance to win it all still with one game left to play to take home the big prize. But to do this, I am going to need my partner in crime, Logan Glaser, to help me out here today, go over everything. So, Logan, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff. Good to be back.
Should be a great Super Bowl, Logan. Philadelphia, Kansas City. We had this a couple years ago. It was a great game.
It
So
was
I'm looking
last year,
forward to it.
actually, rematch from last year.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
you're right. I don't know
yeah,
why.
it's setting up to be a great game, though, as you mentioned. Right now, the spread is KC -1, -1.5, 2, depending on where you kind of look around, and with an over of 49. So lots of points are expected to be scored in this game.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to go into that a little more detail about that game. We're going to talk about our pick'em contest we're running here at Real Time Fantasy Sports, all sorts of options there. So Logan and I are going to give you a couple of our favorite picks there. We're going to talk about DFS as well. And we're also going to talk about this postseason shootout contest, Logan. Let's lead with that because there's a lot on the line for this, and there's just a few teams really that have a legit shot to win it all. Maybe you can go over it
Yeah,
for
again, it's
everybody.
$100,000 for that grand prize. So there's a big incentive to get first with that. And there's really three teams that I'm going to highlight kind of with this standing. So number one is the WNBA team, Hall of Fame Barry Bonds. So he currently leads, but he only has Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown left. So
Okay.
he's got the lead, but again, only two players left. Luckily for him, the next couple of players only have two players as well. So he's kind of safe with there. The next team I'm going to look at that I think has a realistic chance to catch him is number 4, Rocky Top Rhinos. They are down 18 points currently to him, and he has Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, Harrison Butker, and Eagles defense.
Okay.
So down 18, Barkley's cancel out each other. And then it's AJ Brown versus Kelce, Butker, and Eagles. So I think that's going to be very tight based on projections. It's about even
Yeah.
with those two. Because you think AJ Brown and Kelce might cancel each other out, and then it's up to Harrison Butker and Eagles defense to get those 18 points to catch them. Um, and then
Interesting.
finally, the other team that I think has a realistic chance to catch number one is team number 7 for Stomper with that. He is currently down 28, so that's a pretty big gap. But compared to the other teams, he's got a quarterback left in Jalen Hurts. So
Oh,
he
there
can
you
easily
go.
make that up with that. He's got Jalen Hurts, Kareem Hunt, Saquon Barkley, and Travis Kelce. So even though he's down 28 right now, I think he definitely has a realistic chance to walk away with that $100,000.
I agree. That's definitely an X factor there, having that QB left. I'm a little surprised there's more teams that don't have 4 players left from the Eagles and Chiefs near the top of the leaderboard. I guess these teams that are near the top did a great job the previous weeks, but it's a little surprising not seeing more Eagles and Chiefs. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised about that as well. They a lot of teams just got those points early on.
Yeah,
Again, Chiefs have only played 2 games so far, whereas some teams have played 3 before, such as
that's true.
Buffalo. Because Buffalo has played 3 games, so if you had Josh Allen instead of all these other players, you racked up a lot of points with him on those games.
Yeah, that's a great point. So that's our postseason shootout contest, $100,000 on the line. Don't forget to get in that next year if you've never done it, because it's a lot of fun, as you can see by this leaderboard. All sorts of teams still with a chance to win it all, and it's just a great contest. So don't forget about that one after the regular season is over with next year. But good luck to those teams left. So Logan, let's talk about our pick'em contest now. So we have a lot of options there. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about those and maybe how people can get involved.
Yeah, so we actually are launching a brand new contest as of today. So we just launched it probably about 30 minutes ago. It's going to be kind of going out in the next couple of days with that for the Super Bowl with that, but it extends beyond the Super Bowl. It's here to stay, and that is called Pick'em Showdown. It's a
Okay.
peer-to-peer Pick'em style contest where you go head-to-head against other users, and you accumulate points by getting picks correct. If you have a perfect entry, you get paid out, or if you win your group, you paid out. So there's multiple different ways to win on that. It's available in 12 additional states. We currently still have normal pick'em in those normal states, but again, we have 12 different states now that can participate in Pick'em Showdown. And those states are Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Kansas, Massachusetts, Missouri, go Missouri, New
Yeah.
Hampshire, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So 12 additional states can now participate in that pick'em, including our home state of Missouri with that. So that's definitely an exciting format, definitely to take advantage of with the Super Bowl coming up.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the Super Bowl now. We have all sorts of options for pick'em. If you want to do that peer to peer, you can do that. But if you want to do just other options where you can pick a couple and put some money on the line, see if you can triple it or quadruple it or however you want to do it. How can people get involved with that? Where do they go?
Yeah, so if you go to rtsports.com, under that daily tab, you can click on the pick'em option there. The system will automatically take you, if you're in peer-to-peer, to the showdown. If you're in one of those states. If not, it'll take you directly to just the normal pick'em with that. So yeah, head over to RT Sports under that daily tab and click on pick'em. You can win up to 100 times your entry fee. If you go
Nice.
6 for 6 with multipliers involved.
Awesome. So let's give our viewers out there a couple of our favorite picks for the Super Bowl. I got a couple, and you got a couple as well. I'll let you lead it off. What's one of your favorite pick and plays for this week?
Yeah, my first play I'm going to start out with, which is my favorite, is Dallas Goedert more than 50.5 receiving yards. He's a very popular play, I would say, with this matchup. Kansas City allows the third most receptions to opposing tight ends, third most yards as well with that. They allow 67.5 receiving yards a game to opposing tight ends. Goddard only needs to hit the 50.5 mark for that to hit. And he's a good tight end. I would say he's in the top 10 or so tight ends in the league. Last game, he had 8 targets, 7 receptions, 85 yards. So I think this is a very doable line for him.
So my first pick is an Eagle as well, and it's Devonta Smith, and I'm going to say more than 50.5 receiving yards. So Smith actually, he's not done much in recent weeks, but he's been great against the Chiefs. That's where I'm basing this off of. In 3 games against the Chiefs, he has at least 99 yards all 3 of those games, including that Super Bowl matchup that we talked about earlier, and he has 100-yard games 2 of those 3 games. So he's been great against the Chiefs. Maybe they focus on shutting down A.J. Brown a little more. Smith gets a little more favorable matchup. So I'm going to go more than 50.5 receiving yards for him. That's one of my favorite plays. So Logan, one more of your pick and plays this week. What else you like?
Yeah, so my second one is going to be DeAndre Hopkins less than 8.5 for his longest reception of the game. So he
Yeah.
would have to have a reception of 9 yards or more. His last 3 games, he's only had 3 receptions for 18 total yards. Hollywood Brown's back. You got Xavier Worthy, you got Juju, you got Travis Kelce. They just have so many different options now at wide receiver for KC that DeAndre Hopkins has kind of taken a backseat to Hollywood Brown. So I'm going to go with less than 8.5 for his longest reception.
So I'm going to do another more, and it's Patrick Mahomes more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I'd feel even better if this was total touchdowns because he had 2 rushing scores last week and just 1 passing touchdown. But still, I'm going more than 1.5 passing TDs for Mahomes. He's amazing in these big games and the Super Bowl, and I trust him. I think he's going to get at least 2 touchdowns passing. He had his highest fantasy scoring game of the season last week against the Bills. I know he hasn't been great all year, but he scored 33.6 fantasy points last week. He had 3 total scores in that game, threw for 245 yards. I think this is going to be a bit of a high-scoring game, as you mentioned, with the line at 49, was it, or 48?
Yep, 49.
49. So I think Mahomes is going to have to score some points if they're going to want to win, and I think he's going to do it. So I like Mahomes more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. All right, Logan, that's Pick'em plays. Again, you can get into that under that daily tab. You can look at Pick'em, click it on there on rtsports.com. You can see everything we have to offer there. But we have DFS too. So DFS, how's that going to work for the Super Bowl exactly?
Yeah, so with DFS, it's a single game with that. You have 5 flex players and an MVP. So that MVP spot earns more than those normal flex spots, but they also cost more. So you definitely want to choose a valuable MVP player for that spot with that because he can definitely help or break your lineup with that. So if you go with a cheaper MVP, then you can get more from your other flex spots. If you go with the cheaper MVP, then you can go out and you can get Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Patrick Mahomes, and kind of fill out those other flex spots, but you're getting less from that MVP spot, which is kind
Okay,
of my
so
strategy that I'm going to go with.
yeah, so let's talk about that MVP spot. We're gonna kind of talk about this contest and how much you want to spend on maybe certain players or what route you want to go. But if we're talking about MVP, who do you think is going to win the MVP for this game? So maybe since it's probably the player you think is going to win, maybe that's who you want to put in your DFS lineup. So who's your pick for MVP of the Super Bowl?
It's hard to go against Saquon because I'm personally on the Eagles. I know you're a big Chiefs fan, but I think they finally get it done this year compared to last year with that. So if I had to pick an MVP, I'm going to go with Saquon. That offensive line for the Eagles has just been so dominant, and he's had so many breakout rushes. I do think the Chiefs will crowd the box, kind of force Jalen Hurts to beat them through the air. So I think that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think AJ Brown is definitely another target to be MVP of this game. I think they're going to target him a lot, just because I think Kansas City tries to shut down that rushing game. But I'm still going to go with Saquon. It's hard to contain him how he's looked in the last couple of weeks.
I hear you. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I want to say Kelsey because I think he might retire after this game if they win it all. But I'm just going to go with Mahomes just because it seems like the QB wins it a lot in the Super Bowl as well. And as I mentioned, he's been playing good football in the playoffs, and I think the Chiefs are going to win a close game. And I think Mahomes is going to have to win the MVP. So I'm good with taking him in DFS for this week as the MVP. So maybe some cheaper options too, Logan, for the DFS, maybe a sleeper or a DFS or a pick 'em play that you like that maybe is getting overlooked. Is there an option there that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so my sleeper play is going to be Hollywood Brown. So he is only 5,400 on the slate with that. You've got more expensive Chiefs options and Xavier Worthy at 8,000. You got Kelsey at 9,000, Kareem Hunt at 6,400. But they've definitely tried to get Hollywood Brown a lot more involved in this offense since he's come back in week 16. Week 16, he had 7 targets, 4 receptions. Week 17, he had 8 targets, 5 receptions. He took a little bit of a backseat in the first playoff game against Houston, kind of rebounded a little bit against Buffalo. He had 5 targets in that game. But I think at his price point with getting at least 5 targets in this game is definitely a valuable option.
There's always someone too, Logan, that's a surprise that you're not thinking of, not one of the marquee players. And I like that call, Brown.
There is, especially in the Super Bowl, because
Yeah.
you get some trick plays, especially in that game.
Exactly. I'm going with the Chief as well as a sleeper DFS play, but I'm going to go Juju Smith-Schuster. He's just $2,000. So you want to go big on some other positions and take a chance on Juju. I think it's worth it. He played 58% of the snaps the last game, which was the 3rd most of any receiver. He was on the field a lot, had 2 catches for 60 yards. I think he could maybe make a big play or two in this matchup. So for that cheap of a price, I say go for it in a game that could be high scoring as well. And I think Juju could end up being maybe a winner for DFS teams this week. So
Yeah.
overall, Logan, we talked about some players, some pick 'em plays, MVPs. I think I have an idea what you're thinking. So who's your game winner for the Super Bowl? What's your
Yes,
prediction?
we're on opposite ends with this. I'm on the Eagles this year. I just think they have the most talented roster in the NFL. With that, if Detroit stayed healthy on defense, I think that would have been a different story, but they were not. But I think Eagles are the most well-rounded team. They got a great offensive line, great defensive line. They got playmakers on offense, and a really solid defense. So I'm going to be on the Eagles for this matchup.
So while I agree with you, I think the Eagles are the better team on paper. They have more talent on both sides of the ball. The Chiefs just win. They just
They
keep
just
getting it
find a
done.
way every
Yeah,
single time. You always, even if you think they're out of it, they find a way. If it's a blocked field goal, if it's a blocked punt, whatever it is.
exactly. I don't buy this narrative with the ref stuff too. It drives me crazy just because it's just it's just craziness. I don't understand where they're going because if you look at it, in my opinion, like the Bills last week, their fan base is just crazy. They would have been swarming New Orleans, so many people down there. If they really want to, make more money, I think they would have wanted the Bills to win that game personally. But regardless, I'm saying the Chiefs win 28-24, close game. Should be a good one. I hope it's a good one because it's one of my favorite days of the year. Watch the game with your friends. You got Super Bowl halftime show with Kendrick Lamar. You have great commercials, food, you name it. I'm just looking forward to it, and I hope it's a great game. So, Logan, thanks so much for coming on once again, talking everything Super Bowl with me for the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show this week. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
And good luck to everybody out there and all the contests you're in here at RealTime Fantasy Sports this week. Again, you can get in Pick'em, DFS, you name it. We have it here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, and I hope you have a lot of fun playing all of our contests. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.